Hey friends. So I saw an osteopath today, which for whatever reason in my life, osteopaths have been kind of like a guiding element of my life. I've had several, well, at least two other osteopaths kind of in my life that were kind of defined how I see the body, how I understand healing. And this guy is kind of like the third one of those, the third in that line. And this is really kind of over a pretty long period of my life. And he worked with my wrist. And it was pretty revelatory. If you haven't watched my previous posts, I sustained a wrist injury about a month and a half ago. I was playing tennis and just wrenched a ball really kind of uncharacteristically. It was very weird. Even as the movement happened, I had time to go, that's a weird way to move your wrist. Why would you do that? It was almost like I'd hit the ball and then I was muscling the ball over, like pushing the racket through, but not like as a matter of naturally following through. It was just kind of like I was adding this muscled effort to it, which was totally unnecessary and which caused a kind of a separation in the bones of my wrist. I felt my hand kind of pull out. And I've been working with it. I've talked a number of times on this post. It's really been something that I've been processing for ever since it happened. And it has given me some interesting reflections on life. It's on my life and where I'm at and what I'm kind of moving from and towards. But one thing that came clear today, in addition, I got to go beat by beat here. A lot happened and I processed a lot in a short amount of time. But basically, so this guy takes a look at me, looks at my system, and then he looks at the wrist. And his summary takeaway was, you've done a lot of work cultivating the ability to put intentions through your hand. He said, the hands are the most sophisticated organ of the body outside of the central nervous system. So the hand is an incredibly complicated, and the reason our brain is as large as it is because it operates the hands, and the number of things the hands can do is simply staggering. I mean, we built the world with our hands. Human beings have literally done what we've done to the planet with our hands. Obviously, our mind is involved, but the hands are tools par excellence. And he said, you as a musician, as a pianist, you've really developed the ability to put intention through these instruments. And I get the sense that you when you were playing this tennis game, you put force through your hand in a way that your intention was able to go there. You have control of your hand, and you have the nerves, you have the neurological connection to put that level of intention through your hand, but the mechanism has been trained to perform different kinds of movement and to exert force in a different way. It's not trained to handle that level of force. And especially then when I told him it was my fourth match of the day, it was the finals of an entire tournament, he was like, oh yeah, so that is what that was. He said you basically overworked your mechanism by putting an intention through it, by putting a level of force through it with intention, that you got to know yourself better than that. You need to know that you've developed your mechanism to be expressive and to be able to channel force at a level of refinement that actually kind of precludes being that forceful with it. You can't you can't do both. And I was like, wow, that not only really rings true with what this injury felt like and it feels like, not just when it happened, but like feels like as an event in my life. But it also points to something that I think it's kind of like a struggle, or it's something that I've had to that I still struggle with in my life, which is this decision, or a kind of like, does my energy go towards the refined and in some ways very delicate work of music, not strict, but also a bit of creativity, or am I cultivating strength and power? In this case, I'm talking about physical power, but I think there's an outgrowth of that in deeper, in ways that go beyond the physical. And I certainly know from my own, just from knowing myself over the years, that I have hoped to somehow avoid having to choose between those two things. I've kind of hoped I could have both. And I think that has created a kind of friction in my development, in my own growth. Because when we can't decide, well, where are we going to go? Then we're kind of like cutting one way and then cutting back the other way, and then cutting one way and then cutting back the other way. And ultimately, you know, maybe as a young person, our mechanism, our body, our mind can withstand some of that. But as we get older, it's like, what's the real intention here? What am I really investing in? And you know, and coming out of Andrew's office, and because then he worked on my system, and then that's where he kind of got some of the, I think, impressions of what was happening on a deeper level. But then he just worked on the wrist itself, like right on the mechanism, and I felt it move finally in a way that it hasn't moved since I heard it. And it's still not 100%. It's still not moving the way it should. It's still not healed. But it is in a completely different place. It gave me, for the first time since it happened, the sense that the block that occurred there, the block of somehow not allowing my energy past the wrist, which has been, you know, I feel that physically, but it's also in my right hand. I've also felt that on a kind of emotional, psychological level. I've felt like I'm stymied. Like I'm being blocked. My energy was being blocked. So, you know, I think some of the lessons that I've been extracting from this are still relevant. I do think there's a change in direction in terms of my overall movement that is actually kind of important, that's true. That is necessary, and that's something I need to keep some attention on. But I was also reminded of what it feels like to be connected to the flow of subtle energy in a very delicate but also very precise and refined way. The work that I've been doing at the piano, the work I've been doing with Madeline for a couple of years now, that's something that is, I don't just want to let that go. It's not something that I just want to take an injury as a sign that that's not where I'm supposed to go. What if the injury is a sign that I haven't been fully respecting or appreciating what that work really implies, what that work demands? Because it'd be a shame to draw the wrong conclusion about that. And especially just as I felt my arm come alive again, just as I felt energy moving again, and I felt my hand sort of go, oh, right, yeah, I can feel through the block, even if it was really kind of only happening as he was manipulating it. And then I still feel the block right now. It's there, right here, right there. Energy won't go through there. Right? There's a bone that's out of place. That's kind of like, it's like a pebble in a hose. As that came back online and just gave me a brief impression, it also woke up all the kind of emotional availability to that, the kind of the appreciation of the fact that that's ultimately such nectar to my soul. And that maybe there are some ways in which I need to take that seriously and respect what that means on a larger level in life, not just in the activity of doing that. So yeah, I feel like there's a lot that's going to come through in the follow-up to this. I'm going to see Andrew again on Saturday. That's where I'm at today, folks. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.